Greetings everyone, Eric here, and welcome back to a new video. In this video, I'm going to be inking a Venom piece here that I was doing for a commission. The reason I'm only showing the ink is because I'd already been trying to work out the pencil stage, and it was taking me forever to figure out a pose that I liked and all that other stuff. So eventually I just scrapped the footage from me penciling because it just took me too long to figure it out. So yeah, this is just me going straight into the inking stage. I do this one a little different, especially since Venom is pretty much all blacked out. It definitely kind of was a little more of just mostly highlighting areas, so I went with a very simple style here. It's kind of a style that I've grown more accustomed to. The piece is, like I said, it was a commission. Actually from a personal friend of mine who's a very big Venom and Eddie Brock fan. So I tried to make this one look a little more towards the way he was drawn by Todd McFarlane in a way. Excuse the crappy hands, as you're going to see. I am terrible with hands. I've never been good with drawing hands, so... I'm glad this character gets mostly blacked out because that means I can pretty much black out most of the hand and all you see is a little bit of highlights. So yeah, I'm trying to adjust my art style a little bit so I do put a little more detail in, but still not too much for the way I like to draw. So you'll see I put a little bit more muscle detail that I usually wouldn't in most cases. Because I used to draw very much like kind of like a Bruce Timm style, but now I'm trying to get into the point where I'm actually adding more detail than it's just something I'm trying to do. The pose again took me a little while to get to. Eventually I literally just kind of drew the head and then added the body in. But oh, excuse me. But it kind of worked out. I like the pose. It works. It kind of works with Venom. The detailing work was a little weird. I hadn't drawn Venom in a while, so I have, you can't see obviously, but I'm staring at a picture of Venom, or a couple pictures of Venom on my computer, and just literally just like, okay, how many spiky things just comes off the, like how many legs does the, spider have? And I think I put too few here, but whatever. Doesn't matter. I know they're arachnids, so they should have 8, and I think I put 1, 2, I missed 2, but it really doesn't matter for me. I mean, it's not that it doesn't matter, it's just you can kind of count those 2 little spiky things up on the headpiece as technically arms, since when you draw a spider, that's kind of how you do it anyway. But anyway, that's beside the point. Right here, I'm just adding a outline. I know it's kind of pointless to do this on this character because most of him's going to be blacked out anyway, but I like to keep in habit of doing this from now on. Is I like to put the contour line, which is just a thick black line on the outside of the character, just to kind of make him pop a little bit. It's habit. You're going to see I'm going to do another thing that I'm trying to create a habit of doing just for the sake of doing it for the characters, even if they're going to be completely blacked out. Simply because I want to get out of my... move out of my comfort zone, as well as create a good habit of doing better work and better detail work and making things look nicer. Instead of all these flat lines everywhere, I want to have some depth and stuff and just make it look a little more, make it look a little better, make it pop a little more. So, again, here I'm just adding the contour all around the body. It's mostly just outlining stuff. The insides are going to get a little different treatment, as you'll see. And just a lot of little things here. This is sped up like 4 times because I'm very slow at inking. I take my time. I really do. And you'll see even when I'm like filling in the blacks, you'll see that when it switches over to me filling in black area, it's going to take almost as much time as it did for me to ink this whole thing just to fill in the blacks because it takes me that long. Now here you see I'm adding little, basically like a feathering detail where I'm making the transitions a little smoother and a little sharper. So it kind of adds some nice pop in certain areas. Again, this is all going to get covered up with black anyway, but this is also letting me know where I should put a highlight, because that's what I do. I highlight areas, like anything that's a line going through the body where it normally would be black, I highlight. So it's just something I'm trying to do here. And here I'm just kind of filling in the black of his mouth for the, just for reference sake, and to do it right now because Eventually, I'm gonna have to put a little bit of an outline around his mouth, so it just helps me out there. I did put the tongue like most people do. That actually started a little later in Todd's artwork. He didn't do it like right away, and it actually took a while before they started doing like the whole weird tongue thing. But the way his mouth is drawn is pretty much the way Todd McFarlane did it from the beginning, which was just a really big, you know, sharp fang-filled grin. So here I kind of tried to make it a little more of kind of old newish things. Plus I think the tongue's kind of cool. Here I'm outlining where the highlights are going to be, and I'm doing this now to save me the hassle of forgetting later when I actually go to fill in all the blacks. So it's a good idea that when you're gonna fill in big areas of black is go take the time to draw where your highlights are. Literally frame in the highlights so you don't fill it in. And especially if a character like this where he's all black. So you just want to save yourself a headache and just take the time to do that now. And here I'm actually going to start with the actual blackening phase. And you'll see this takes about as long as it did. It takes me almost the same amount of time as it did for me to do the entire inking stage just to fill in all the blacks, just because I take my time to outline things. Here I'm using the pens I'm using here are Faber-Castells. This is a brush tip pen, and the other one that I showed to the camera, the white one, the big square white one, is a Copic marker. It's a double-headed black marker. It's just got two tips on it. One's a little sharper, brushy tip, and the other one's kind of a flatter tip to it. The brush pen I'm using here is actually thinner than the Copic one, so I use it for the really intricate details, and then I use the black, this one, to fill in all the big areas of black. You saw I put the piece of cardboard underneath because the Copics bleed through the paper really, really badly. So if you're gonna use Copics, remember it's gonna bleed pretty bad, especially black. Black really likes to bleed through the page. I know Copic comes in a lot of different colors, and I'm guessing that the colors would probably not be as bad. But with black, it really likes to bleed, especially through cheap paper like this, because this is just regular sketchbook paper. I don't have Bristol board anymore. I need to save up some money so I can get Bristol board. Now here's what I was talking about. I forgot to outline where the jaw was going to be, so there I had to do it by on the spot. So that was kind of annoying because I forgot to do that. I did that on I think 2-3 spots, but yeah, it's not, for me it's not fun trying to do that. Also, I tried to make it so his little eyes there. I noticed later on artists started doing almost like a Rorschach effect. Like, you know how in Watchmen, Rorschach's mask kind of alternates. It's kind of moving and alive almost because of the material it's made out of. For some reason, people kept making Venom's mask and eyes alter and change a lot and like fluctuate as from panel to panel. Because, and I understand their reasoning, because I mean it is a symbiote, it is alive, but at the same time it just gets kind of annoying, and it's a little lazy to me, because you're basically saying that you're not going to try and draw it the exact same way every time, so just draw it differently each time. So no, I try to do it basically that style all the time, the way Todd McFarlane did. And you can tell this is, I mean, when you see the fact that he drew this, he was the first one to draw Venom. You can see when later on in a lot of his artwork, whenever he draws characters with anything similar to that style of eyes, it looks exactly like that. Like, look at Spawn, and Spawn's the whites part of his mask looks exactly the same. So you can definitely tell where he got that from. He pretty much just copy and pasted that a lot throughout a lot of his characters, actually. I think even in his series, I think it's called Haunted, he has another character that's pretty much like Venom. I think so. It's whatever. I mean, if you have a style and you have a thing, I mean, he did create Venom, so he has every right to have fun with it as he wants. But here I'm just filling in all the blacks, and you see I'm using both tips to do it. That way, if I need a thinner area, I can just use the brush tip of this pen. If it's an area that I don't feel I need the brush pen from the Faber-Castell one. But for the most part, I can usually get away with just using this, that end. I do recommend using Copics. The Copics and the Faber-Castell, they're very good markers, very deep blacks, especially for scanning. But yeah, as you can see, this picture's coming up to an end. I just want to thank you guys for kind of watching and being patient with me as I fix my computer and the camera problems. I'd also like to remind you guys that I have a Patreon page, so if you'd like to help support me, go onto my Patreon page, and there's a video that tells you what it is and how it works. And as the videos come in, you're going to see the final product as I sign my name, as you should always do. Thank you again for watching. So yeah, check out my Patreon page. Also follow me on Tumblr for updates and pictures, and I will see you guys in the next video. Later.